It's time for your Royals postseason report. Today, the Royals lost to the Guardians. The Twins haven't played at the time of recording, and honestly, who cares about the Red Sox anymore? The Royals are 1 game back of the Guardians for the division lead and remain 2 games ahead of the Twins for the second wild card until the Twins face Atlanta later Wednesday night. As of this morning, here are your Royals Kansas City playoff odds. Baseball Reference, 95.1%. Baseball Prospectus, 87.3%. Fangraphs, 91.7%. Also per Fangraphs, the Royals had the best odds to win the AL Central at 38.9%. Their magic number for the final wildcard berth is 25. Their magic number for the division is 31. We now return you to your regularly scheduled Royals Rundown podcast.
Goodness gracious, Paul, what a way to start off the podcast. Welcome to the Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review. I'm Jacob Milham. Thank you so much for getting us started, Paul, but now we have Jeremy Greco returning to the horn. Jeremy, it's Wednesday. It feels like the middle of the week.
Sure does.
But man, the Royals had us going for the first half of the work week, didn't they?
Well, I was writing up everything as if the Royals were sweeping the Guardians. I was ready to go. I want to add one thing to Paul's report there.
Okay.
Graphs has updated their playoff odds. The Royals Guardians game ended, and the Royals are no longer the favorites to win the division. Fortunately, they're now second most likely to win the division. The Guardians had a huge jump by winning today. That said, of Fangraphs' calculation in all of this is that they predict that the Royals' winning percentage for the rest of the season will be .490. They think they're going to play under 500 for the remaining 29 games of the season.
Yeah. What are we doing?
I guess that would be they expect them to play 14 and 15. So all it takes is to play 15 and 14 over the last 29, which is still well below, their winning percentage for the year.
Correct.
And they're playing higher than that. They do think the Guardians are going to play at a 503 or excuse me, a 493 for the season, so just a tad bit higher than the Royals, but also under 500.
Yeah,
I think watching the Guardians over this stretch, I think I actually said this when the Royals played the Guardians in Kansas City last time.
Yeah,
the Guardians do not look like a good team. They look like a team that played way over their heads for a while, and they burned their bullpen out, and now they have nothing. Their starting rotation is trash. Their offense is awful outside of Jose Ramirez. Get lucky sometimes, but this is not a team that concerns me at all. I think the Twins are the much bigger threat for the division, and the Royals currently are ahead of them.
Exactly. So listen, we have a lot of takeaways from this Cleveland Guardians series that just wrapped up earlier on today. But first, we do have to shout out RoyalsReview.com, who make this podcast happen. A lot of great work going on over there at RoyalsReview.com. Also, our quarterly reminder, if you are ever interested in starting writing, the Royals Review fan post is a pretty damn good way to start. That's how we got our start. And shoot, that seems like years ago when I was writing fan posts. Now it's kind of weird to say that.
My most referenced article this season has been a fan post.
There you go. Yeah, that's true. That's the Narrow Road to 90 Wins was a fan post.
Yeah.
So it is. Listen, you can make your mark that way. You can get your thoughts out there in a little bit more of a long form, but you can only do that at RoyalsReview.com. All right, Jeremy. So like you alluded to, the Royals, for the most part, played the Guardians this week
badly
in every facet of the game.
I mean, they honestly outplayed them today.
Yeah, they did.
The problem the Royals ran into had 3 whole relievers who were available to them. They had the Guardians got incredibly lucky the 7th inning with some balls that dropped, a couple of which maybe shouldn't have. Bobby Witt probably should have caught the one that he didn't. Kyle Bell probably should have caught the one in center field. But even if if you say, well, you can't catch those, these were all just little parachutes into the outfield that, these were not hard hit balls. that were crushing the Royals today. It was a very, very lucky win for the Guardians. And as I've tweeted many times, when the Royals have kind of gotten away with something, I'm like, rather be lucky than good. Well, today, the Guardians were lucky.
Yep, that they were. And that was, I think, the deciding inning did come with Lucas Erceg on the mound, and he did give up 3 hits. But as Jack Johnson of Locked On Royals pointed out, all 3 of those hits were under 80 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Like those are just bloop hits, and there's not a whole lot you could do about them in most cases. So it happens. All in all, the impromptu bullpen game on Tuesday, Michael Lorenzen exiting early, and still the Royals limiting the Guardians to just 1 run after the rain delay with the bullpen. The bullpen was tired. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, no, just manager Matt Quatrero didn't have a whole lot of places to turn.
Yeah.
The margin for error was minuscule today. And frankly, I would rather have the bullpen look, heading into this 4-game set against the Houston Astros and then coming home to face off against the Guardians again. They have 7 more games without an off day. Like they can't tax the bullpen just chasing a sweep, in my opinion. Jeremy, what are your thoughts?
I mean, he had, like I said, he talked after the game, Quintero did. Mm-hmm. He had 3 relievers available. He had Erceg, he had Stratton, and he had Cruz. So you've got one guy that you think you can count on, one guy you can't count on, and one guy who knows what Steven Cruz is going to do. He hasn't pitched for the Royals this year. Yeah. And when he pitched last year, he pitched very well in AAA for a while. He pitched very well in AAA this year, but he was very up and down inconsistent for the Royals last September. So the other thing is, let's say I want to bring in Erceg in the 7th, at the start of the 7th, because he's facing the bottom of the order. Erceg, you're going to want to pitch to Jose Ramirez, which is ultimately what ended up happening, unfortunately. You probably bring in Steven Cruz for the 7th inning.
Yeah.
And okay, so Steven Cruz comes in. Let's say he doesn't blow the lead, but then Stratton's got to pitch the 8th or the 9th.
Right.
You have to use Stratton at that point.
You do.
And then if you Stratton and Erceg in the 8th and 9th, if it's tied going in, you got to go to the 10th. You got nobody left.
Exactly.
No relievers left. And you're in extra innings. So you feel better about it. This is what I was tweeting about earlier. If it makes you feel better, tell yourself that the Royals lost day night when their starter got hurt. And starters get hurt. They lose those games a lot of the time. And then they won today because the bullpen wasn't overtaxed.
Yep.
That's how that would have gone down.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Lorenzen injury basically cost the Royals today's game. Wait, I'm going to just shout out Tuesday night. The bullpen obviously was fantastic.
My gosh. Yes.
But Carlos Hernandez, 2 1/3 innings of 1-run ball. Fantastic. James MacArthur, 2 innings, 4 strikeouts. His curveball is all the way back.
Yeah, it is, baby.
Oh, the bullpen, I was reading Craig, I can't remember his last name.
Craig
Brown's letter yesterday morning or the day, I think it was yesterday morning. He was saying that the bullpen is a nightmare. And I'm like, I don't think it is now that Will Smith and Angel Zerpa aren't in it. You've got a bunch of guys you think you can count on and a couple guys you might be able to count on and one guy you can't count on instead of 3 guys you can't count on.
Precisely.
For a while, it was 4 when MacArthur was still trying to find his way back. So this bullpen, I'm not going to sit here and say it's an elite bullpen, but it's fine.
Yeah, it's serviceable.
It's not a nightmare. It's just fine.
Yes, it's not a dumpster fire. It's more of a controlled blaze, if you will, at times.
But they had the doubleheader on Monday, and neither pitcher went 5 innings.
Yep.
And then Lorenzen got hurt Tuesday night. Didn't go 2 innings. The bullpen just didn't exist today.
Yeah. And you know what? The Royals only lost by 2. And it was a late inning collapse.
And again, pure luck on those ducks to center field.
Exactly.
Those lame ducks or whatever ducks those were. They were ducks.
They were some sort of flying bird that is usually very slow and not known for its speed. So you touched on a little bit of the Michael Lorenzen injury, which for our listeners who are unaware, starting pitcher Michael Lorenzen did hit the 15-day IL earlier on today with a left hamstring strain. Now, how he got that, he suffered it on in Tuesday's game in the evening. He's covering first base. He stretched out a little bit too much, tried to do his best Vinny Pasquantino impersonation. It didn't work out very well.
It wasn't a good impersonation either.
It was not. Listen, I know I'm not an athlete. I'm not an MLB athlete. However, I do know that pitchers are not known for their flexibility.
Well, he works out like a position player. Rex is telling us that all the time.
Apparently he's not doing yoga or Pilates like a position player. So unfortunately, he is going to be out for the next couple of weeks, which actually, if you go ahead.
I was going to say, they said it was a grade 2 strain. So
yeah,
should just be a couple of weeks, hopefully.
Hopefully so. It doesn't, like, if this happens in June, I'm not thinking too much about it, but like 15 days right now is a lot of the season that's left. That's no laughing matter. So it does seem like Alec Marsh is the sensible guy to come up and replace him in the rotation. Rogers alluded to that, saying, quote, Alec Marsh is a leading candidate. Jeremy, on a scale of 1 to 10, like how comfortable are we feeling with Alec Marsh back in the rotation after his doubleheader performance on Monday?
6.
Yeah.
I still believe in him. I've believed in him his whole major league career.
Yeah.
He strikes guys out, but it wasn't a great performance, and he had a few bad ones before went down. I think he's a better 6th starter than you're going to find on a lot of teams. He's a better 5th starter than you're going to find on a lot of teams. He's not, Michael Lorenzen was pitching kind of elite for the Royals.
Yes. Yeah, he was.
And so he's going to be a step down, but be okay, I think.
Yeah, I agree so. And there are some other replacements, I think, but however, come on. This is why you sent Alec Marsh down when you traded for Michael Lorenzen, so he could still stay stretched out as a starter
without having to throw as many innings.
Correct. So I'm kind of comfortable seeing him back. I'm more of a 7 out of 10 personally, because he still flashed the stuff. He's not perfect, but at the end of the day, he's coming in as a number 5 starter.
What if the Royals throw a curveball at us and they add Dinelson Lamet, make him the 5th starter?
Yeah, that's absolutely a move that's been discussed. I don't know, frankly.
My only thought. Okay, so rosters expand Sunday, September 1st.
Yeah, it's coming up.
So there's a lot of interesting stuff that could happen here. So Bush is be on his regular rest to pitch Saturday.
Yes, he will.
But that's also Reagan's regular rest. So you can have Reagan's pitch Saturday, or you can give him an extra day off. He did have the leg cramps, so maybe that makes sense. But then you have to demote someone because you don't expand the roster till Sunday. So maybe you have to demote Steven Cruz to bring in Alec Marsh. Are you okay with that? Can you then bring Cruz right back on Sunday, or do you bring someone else back in on Sunday? Also, Dinelson Lamet, they've said a lot of good things about him pitching in, but if they want to have him as a possibility for the postseason, he has to be added to the 40-man roster before September 1st.
Right.
Or else there's also, like, if somebody gets hurt, then you could maybe work it around, but you have to get like special commissioner's exemption, and you don't know. I don't know how all that works. You don't know how all that works.
No, hell no.
So if the Royals are like, we might want to have him as an option for our team come the postseason, maybe we don't call him up, but having him as an option is something that might be nice. Then they could say, all right, let's cut somebody. And we can, call him up. He can be the 5th starter, and he'll go on Saturday. And then Alec Marsh gets recalled on Sunday, and they got a bunch of guys that can kind of flip around and give somebody a day off, piggyback a Lamet and a Marsh and or a Lynch, and do all kinds of funky things. It'll be very interesting to see what they do. What I'm getting at, because there's a bunch of options.
There is, and I think we're going back to the Lamet option, former guy with the San Diego Padres. He pitched in the majors this year for the Dodgers in a relief role, but he is serving as a starter for the Omaha Storm Chasers right now, he has historically been a starter, starting 12 games back in 2020, 14 back in 2019. I am concerned about his strikeout stuff. It's not even really flashing at the AAA level. 7.61 K over 9 compared to a 5.32 walks over 9. It's not a great ratio, and I get it. Folks are rightfully going to point to, hey, he keeps runs off the scoreboard, 3.04 ERA. But on the flip side, you can look at his FIP at 4.71 in AAA.
That's BABIP.
Yes, correct.
128 BABIP. That's not sustainable.
No, not at all. So I'm not going to be pounding the table for him. I do understand that, well, this is why you keep veterans at the AAA level for these sort of situations. So I can rationalize it in my head.
I will say that his last outing is what's making him look bad.
Yeah.
He was very good for 4 outings, 1 relief appearance, 3 starts. Or excuse me, no, they were all 4 starts. I can't read. 1.53 ERA, 18 strikeouts and 17.2 innings.
Okay.
And only, well, he did have 12 walks, so he was still walking guys probably too much.
Yeah, probably so.
He was looking much better. And then his last outing against the Toronto Blue Jays AAA team, he struck out 2 and gave up 5 earned runs in 6 innings. So that's a lot. It's all very small sample size stuff. So
yeah,
you gotta trust your own internal scouting at that point, I think.
As a fan, there's a part of me that really wants to start banging the table for Noah Cameron to make an appearance at some point. However, that does require a 40-man move. Do you want to rush him at this point? He's only has 5 starts for Omaha and only, let's see here. Yeah, he started the year in AA. So do you want to rush him, or do you want to trust the process and have him compete in 2025 for a rotational spot? I don't know. But the man's just lighting it up in Omaha.
I'm just saying, Adalberto Mondesi pinch hitting in the World Series 2015. How did that go?
That's fair. That's fair.
I'd like Noah Cameron to not come in as, and I know people are like, well, Brandon Finnegan came in as a reliever for a playoff team.
Not a starter.
And he was not a high leverage guy, at least not immediately, because they had HDH. They didn't need him to pitch leverage. They wouldn't even dream of him pitching leverage. They were just like, well, let's see what he can do. And he came up and he pitched pretty good in low leverage. So they gave him a little bit more leverage. They used him in the wild card game because they ran out of pitchers, and it worked out.
Oh,
and also, you have to question, what did that do to the rest of his major league career? Because he was never that good again.
Nope.
He showed up and was awful in 2015 for the Royals, and then he got traded to the Reds and just kind of vanished.
Yep, exactly. So do you want to take that gamble on Noah Cameron? I personally don't, especially, trading away a guy like Mason Barnett. They were both on the same level. Now Mason Barnett's out of the system. Now you got a lot more riding on Noah Cameron's progression. So like Jeremy said, there's a lot of different ways that this team can go in filling in Michael Lorenzen's shoes. Likely Marsh is the guy who ultimately takes his rotation spot, but how that looks is also a journey. I'm sure we're going to be talking about it over at RoyalsReview.com. You could also follow along on Facebook and Twitter if you want to stay up to date on any breaking news. Like, you wouldn't have missed the Lorenzen injury news if you just followed Royals Review on Twitter.
Or if you watch the games, I guess, but I don't know why you do that.
You know what? I barely do. I barely do anyways. No, it was, I got shit from my coworkers because so for folks who don't know, I'm in the Navy. And on Monday, I had watch on the ship. Now, the ship is still being built. It's very much a construction site. It's kind of weird. But my watch is I just have to go unlock spaces for workers who need to get in there. And so for a good amount of the time after first shift ends, I'm just there on my own. So I had freaking MLB Game Day pulled up on the ship's computer there, just watching it out of the corner of my eye. Keeping close tabs on the boys in blue winning in Cleveland.
No one else in the entire country watches baseball games on their computers working.
No, never.
I do not do that.
I'm sure you would never do that, Jeremy. From the comfort of your own home, too?
Would not do that.
Very enticing. So we talked a little bit during the bullpen segment about these Royals still have a good amount of tough games ahead of them. We talked so much about this 20-game stretch. Well, folks, they're only 7 games in, right? They're barely over a third of the way through. Now they're about to travel down to Houston to face off against the Astros, who are running away with the AL West right now. Very much looking
as
like,
much because the Mariners are absolutely collapsing as
yeah,
because the Astros are playing hot, but mostly the Mariners are collapsing at a nearly unprecedented level.
Agreed. It's but these look, I'm saying, more in the standings and in I don't know, just some teams do find a different gear time and time again when the postseason push is on, and it seems like the Astros are doing that right now. I'm not saying that they're going to be the toughest team that the Royals face this stretch, but 4 games against a fellow playoff team, that's nothing to shake a finger at, Jeremy.
Well, before I talk about the Astros, I do want to say there's a little bit of good news, bad news about this so-called gauntlet.
Okay.
Good news is that you probably already figured this out if you were listening a little bit earlier. Good news is that this gauntlet doesn't seem as hard as it did when it started. The bad news is that's because 7 of those games are against the Guardians. So when you beat them, does that mean you did well in the gauntlet? You beat all the good teams, or does it mean, well, you beat the Guardians? The Guardians aren't good anymore. So the Astros, 4 games with the Astros, and it's in Houston.
Yes.
Here's the good news, I guess.
Okay.
When the Royals played the Astros earlier this season, the Astros were a hot mess. The Royals swept them. So what that means is the Royals only need to win of these 4 games in order to win the season series, which means that even matters if they're tied record the end of the year for second and they both win their division, then the Royals are the second and they get the bye through the wild card round and get to host the division round. It's huge. That's a massive, huge opportunity. You always want the bye. Always. People are like, oh, lose your rhythm. Okay, play some simulated games, guys. Like, this isn't hard. Go do some intra-squad. Go do some scrimmages. You can figure this out. I believe in you. But yeah, so the Royals, this is going to be a tough series. This is going to be a hard series. But the Royals only need to win one of the 4 in order to win the season series with the Astros. And I think this is honestly the toughest series that the Royals have remaining this year.
Really?
That's what I believe.
Okay.
I may be forgetting something. I'm probably forgetting something.
No.
But the hot Astros on the road feels like the toughest remaining series to me. So if they go 1-3, there's also at the Yankees.
Yeah,
so I knew I was forgetting one. The Yankees aren't as hot as the Astros.
No, they're not.
So they're close together, but still, they take 1 out of the 4. That's good enough. I told you that if the Royals split with the Guardians, that was good enough. They took 3 out of 4.
Yeah.
And so now if they take 1 out of 4 from the Astros, I want you all to understand that's okay. The Royals are not suddenly crash. Here's the other thing is that the Royals are not mathematically guaranteed a playoff spot, but the numbers have gotten to the point where for them to miss the playoffs entirely is so improbable that you should laugh in the face of anyone who tells you they're going to miss the postseason.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They're going to the playoffs one way or another. The question right now is, will they win the division? Or will they be probably the second wild card? So that's the real question. As tweeted out multiple times this week, the Royals are closer to having the best record in MLB than they are to being eliminated to being side of the postseason bracket.
Yeah, exactly. I'm pulling up the overall standings right now because I think this is something that folks are maybe overlooking is the way to look at it. Maybe just a little bit incredulous about, because like, how long has it been since the Royals have been in this position? The Royals right now currently have the 4th best winning percentage amongst all AL teams, and they're in the 2nd wild card spot. Okay, like they're much better than their playoff standings would say. So outside of the Tigers, they're probably the hottest team in the American League right now. Everyone above them has been playing at or below 500 ball ever since the All-Star break. And I can't believe that we still have to keep saying this. And we keep saying it, and responding to it, because we keep hearing it, folks.
Yeah.
I know if you're listening to us, you probably like believe, okay, well, let's get that 10-pack ticket or whatever the hell it is, so we can get our postseason tickets to see action in Kauffman Stadium once again. And if you're not jazzed up for that, go check out Jack Johnson's Twitter account, because he tweeted out like a 10-minute long video of crowd pops from postseason action in Kauffman Stadium. I teared up. I had chills. I was like, "Oh, buddy, oh, it's almost back."
I'm going to be watching most of the playoffs this year by myself for the first time. Because when the Royals made the postseason before, I still lived with my parents, so I watched all those games with my dad. My dad actually had to go on TDY, temporary duty, during the 2014 World Series.
No way.
So my mom was like, "All right, I haven't watched baseball in 30 years, but I will watch with you because you shouldn't have to watch the postseason alone." I don't live with my parents anymore, so I may be watching the postseason. There's other circumstances that may come into play, but that's all irrelevant. At this point, I'm looking at probably watching most of the postseason by myself this year. I'm a little sad about it, honestly. So everybody out there, you got somebody to watch with. I don't remember how we got to this rabbit trail, so I don't know how to get us back. Jacob, where were we? Please take us back.
Oh my gosh. Well, unfortunately, the bus is off in the wilderness right now. Okay, there are no roads
down
in sight.
Trees.
Yes, there ain't nothing stopping this bus. All in all, I think we were talking about the schedule, the remaining schedule for these Kansas City Royals.
And the fact that going 1-3 against the Astros, as long as they don't get swept, and they have been swept one time this year, it is hard, as we just saw, to sweep a team in 4 games. The odds of them getting swept, even against the Astros, even as hot as they are, seem very small.
Yes.
So as long as they win one of these games, that's okay. That's what I predicted when I said, this is what I think the Royals are going to do for the rest of the year, and they're going to win 90 games. I said they're going to go 1-3 against the Astros because the Astros are hot. Yes. So if they go 1-3, they already picked up a game on my predictions because I said they were going 2-2 against the Guardians.
Right.
They're currently set for, if they did everything else I said, 91 wins if they go 1-3 in Houston.
That is their margin of error right now.
Right. That's where we're at right now, is that 90 wins is like, well, you lose a bunch of games and you get to 90 wins. Just like, I beg of you, I watched a nuclear absolute meltdown happen in the comments of the Sunday game recap.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And it was I couldn't even read all of it. I had to just close it and be like, yep, good luck, everybody. I hope nobody's like cursing or shouting racial slurs, because I cannot moderate this. This is too depressing. You all are too much.
Oof.
So like, please don't do that if the Royals only win 1 out of the 4 games against the Astros, because it'll be fine. They have so many games. They have 3 more games against easy, quote unquote, easy teams than it seemed like they did when we podcasted on Sunday. Okay. Because the Guardians are easy now. I'm sorry to tell you, the Guardians are easy now. I mean, that basically leaves the Twins, the Yankees, and the Astros. Everybody else is very beatable.
As long as we don't face off against the Red Sox in the postseason, I'm good. I'm fine. I'm happy.
The Red Sox aren't going at this point. At this point, it's going to be the Yankees and the Orioles. One of them wins the division. One of them takes the wild card. And then 2 teams out of the AL Central are taking the last wild card. It would take a collapse even beyond what I think the Guardians are capable of for the Red Sox to find their way back into the postseason picture at this point. And the Mariners are even further out.
Wow. Yeah, they are. They're very much in the rearview mirror. Let's go ahead and look at the starters that the Astros have coming up, because they quietly have a very stout rotation as well.
Now that it's healthy again.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, their biggest issue earlier on this year was their bullpen, and their lineup wasn't performing at the usual level. Go ahead.
Their starters were all hurt.
Yeah, that as well.
They had to use 2 fresh rookies against the Royals.
Well, which one of those fresh rookies, as we're recording right now, is pitching a no-no in the 7th inning? So,
oh no, I don't like that. I mean, Wait, if he's pitching today, that means he's not pitching against the Royals. So we're good. We're fine.
There it is. Yeah, they have Hunter Brown, Framber Valdez, Yusei Kikuchi, and Ronel Blanco facing off against the Royals. And honestly, Verlander is scheduled to go.
You got a 6-man rotation?
That's what it looks like right now, yes.
Oh.
So,
not that I hate missing Verlander, but he has given up 4 runs in 5 innings in 3 of his last 4 starts. So I was like, I wouldn't mind facing this iteration of Verlander necessarily.
Wouldn't complain in the slightest. But frankly, the starting rotation has been stout for them. I'm looking at their second in K over 9, their second in hits over 9, and they're 11th overall in ERA. The bullpen has really, really ramped up. They're 4th in ERA right now, and their lineup is just doing like top 10 things across the board. So this is not going to be an easy series. I will say this shouldn't be an easy series for the Royals. I said that the Guardians series wasn't going to be easy, and the Royals went out and proved me wrong. So anything can happen in baseball. We all know that. But I think this is going to be a great watermark for how the Royals sit right now.
The Phillies got hot, right?
Yep.
As the Royals got to them. The Royals were like, oh, they're cold. No, well, not anymore. So the Phillies remain, and I think I talked about this beforehand, but maybe I forgot. I don't know. The Phillies remain a bad matchup for the Royals because of all the lefties.
Yep.
I mean, even Cole Reagans as a lefty, his best pitch is his changeup. Oh, the Royals currently struggle against teams with a lot of left-handed hitters. The Astros have so many left-handed hitters, especially with Kyle Tucker out, and he should be out for this series. He should continue to be out. Jordan Alvarez.
That's it.
Much is the only lefty of like note lineup. They have a couple other lefties that the Royals pitchers, you have to watch out for all the lefties. But Altuve's a righty, Ben's a righty. There's this series, I think, is going to be somewhere between pitchers. It's going to be somewhere between the Phillies and the Guardians.
Okay. A nice little middle ground.
Still, they're a bunch of good hitters, so probably closer to the Phillies than the Guardians, but they should not be as difficult for our starting staff as the Phillies were. That said, the pitching is really a lot scarier than what even the Phillies brought out.
Yep.
So
it's gonna be a dogfight.
Be a dogfight. I think 1 out of 3 is an easy ask, and that's all you need. A split is entirely reasonable to ask for, and if they split, we should be dancing.
Yes.
Okay?
Exactly.
That's A-okay. If they split, they're picking up another game on my predictions.
Yes.
And they would be on their path for 92 wins.
Oof. That'd be crazy to see it at the end of September. But it'll make for a sad podcast on Sunday if they are 1-3. I am holding out hope and kind of expecting a split right now.
I will bring the cheer then if I have to.
Please do.
I will be like, where's Paul? Give me some playoff odds, buddy.
Come on, Paul.
Well, no, it's okay. So I want to say, I know I shouldn't harp too much on this, but one of the things I saw in the comments on the recap Sunday before I closed it was people saying, oh, all year we've said, this is a problem, and everyone's just threw all these other stats at us to say it wasn't a problem, and they should listen to my opinion. Not all of your opinions are valid. Playoff odds, scoreboard, standings, okay?
We got a lot of things.
Just because you have an opinion doesn't mean it's equal. It has equal weight.
It's kind of true. Kind of true. And at the end of the day, they're all opinions. But some of us have...
you know what's not an opinion? The standings. The standings are factual.
Yep, exactly. Drop the mic. Listen, I couldn't do any better. Yes, so this is going to be the stretch of games where you want to be on RoyalsReview.com in the game recaps and the game
so many
threads.
Comments.
Yes, just oh my gosh,
on the game threads, they're having a blast. When the Royals are winning, the comments and the recaps are so good.
They
like
are.
If the Royals are losing, I leave. I might be like, I'm good for tonight, guys. Thanks. But if the Royals are winning, go have some fun. Go celebrate with some other Royals fans.
Yes,
especially
exactly.
if you're like me and you live all by yourself with your dog that is like, I love the Royals pillows. I don't care about the Royals on TV.
Dang. Well, to be fair, Callie also likes the blankets, so she's a merch hound.
Yeah,
see what I did there.
Gosh.
This is why I'm hosting this podcast with you, Jeremy, because my witty jokes.
You murdered me.
I did. All right. There's one other thing that I wanted to talk about, but Jeremy, I thought there's a promotion that the Royals have coming up that I thought would make
I wonder if this is the one I'm thinking of.
Is it the one against the Guardians?
Yeah, Monday.
Yeah,
Labor Day.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that, Jeremy? Because for folks who aren't on the inside joke, the Royals are hosting the Guardians for 3 games, September 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and the first game they host is on Labor Day, which is going to be great. Most folks have the day off, as they should, in commemoration of Labor Day, but the Royals are celebrating Union Day on that day, which, Jeremy, I think there was a certain bearded lad who used to talk about this team and their incredible relations with unions. And it's also so freaking cynical that they're giving away a drink koozie so you can keep your bottles of water nice and cold while you're working at Kauffman Stadium, I'm sure.
That's what we call hypocrisy.
Yeah, what were you thinking, man?
I was like, are you when they said Union Day promotion, I'm like, well, you don't mean labor unions, do you? And then I saw the label on the koozie, Union Strong. I was like, oh, nice. For those of you who are unaware, Royals had some fraught negotiations with their labor workers last summer. In fact, it was what I spent most of my time digging around on the All-Star break. The Royals were ramping up their desire to get a new stadium while fighting tooth and nail against their union employees, including, and this was to me, I think, probably the worst part, allegations the Royals were not providing clean, cool water for their employees who are asked to work the summer outside Surrey. A good combination did not have water. So, actually, have a little bit of news that I haven't talked about before now about that. Should I talk about that?
Might as well. Let's hear it, man.
Real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thinking about writing something about this at some point.
Okay. I want the scoop
I was
Jeremy.
waiting for the union waiting for them to kind of talk about it. But so the union filed a complaint with the NLRB over all of this stuff.
Right.
That was
a few months ago, right?
Last year. And the NLRB, Royals settled with the NLRB suit. So they don't admit any wrongdoing.
Right.
But they did settle. They did not fight it to the point of saying, we definitely didn't do that. Obviously, it can go either way, where it's like, it's not worth fighting it, so I settle. Or, we want to fight it. Did it, but we can settle and get a lesser punishment. Settled. The punishment ended up being, I don't have this right in front of me right now. I did have to do a Freedom of Information Act to get this.
Oh, FOIA.
Yeah, a little FOIA request. The agreement that was made was that this lawsuit would be dropped and the Royals would post notices of union rights all over the workplace, that managers and leadership would do a reading of all of those things. It's a little bit of a potentially little public humiliation, a little bit.
Maybe so. A
little bit like, think Game of Thrones, when Cersei has to walk through the street, shame. It's a little bit like that. It's not like a monetary punishment, but for the employees who felt like the team was not treating them with respect, it's a little bit of a schadenfreude kind of situation. There's a big word for you.
That is a big word.
Oh, that's basically what came of that. I am still waiting to hear from the union guards to what's happened. Obviously, I haven't seen anybody else write about this. I said I pulled the FOIA request. Well, I have the documents that say this is what needs to happen. I don't know what the timeline is on that. So I imagine that the union will probably once it happens, or once it's scheduled to happen or whatever, that they'll put something out. That's the situation there. So that's going to be the end of it, I guess.
Probably
and
so.
The Royals, in their defense, through these fraught negotiations, had very positive negotiations with their union employees when it came to setting them up for would happen if they moved into a new stadium. I
Mm-hmm.
believe, if I remember correctly, that those negotiations hold true. They were made not just for that stadium proposal, but for any if the Royals move, then these terms hold, which is that
Gotcha.
the current employees get first right of refusal for new jobs wherever the new stadium is, and they'll all continue to be union labor, et cetera, et cetera. It was a very good negotiation, very good for the union. So
Okay.
the Royals did kind of clean up their act, or well, they didn't do anything wrong, but it seems like things were better. There was a better relationship between the Royals and the union second time around. So that's good news, and maybe that's what we really want to focus on. But I do think it's kind of funny that some managers or whoever have to go around and just like read all, like, and this is the standard, as far as I can tell, it's like the standard union stuff that you'll see in any workplace.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have the right to unionize. We aren't allowed to tell you can't, and et cetera, et cetera. But they have to say it out loud, which is just kind of funny.
Yes, it is. Okay, so hey, thank you for the insight on that, Jeremy. It was I saw that promotion, and you were the first person I thought of.
I was like, that can't be Oils, the team that did the thing. They didn't give the people the water. They're like, here's a koozie to keep your water cold. I hope they bought enough of those to provide to all of the in-stadium employees,
Hopefully
not just
so.
to the paying fans. I really hope.
Yes, I think that would only be appropriate, and not putting your workers first on Labor Day of all
Email
days.
the union and ask them.
For sure, you should. All right, one more field note. The note I was trying to pivot to, but I had the Royals schedule still pulled up, and it was just staring me in the face. I had to ask you, Jeremy. So I asked Jeremy before we started the podcast if there were any other players outside of Bobby Witt Jr. that we could foresee being not just a Gold Glove winner, but a Gold Glove finalist, which is the top three at any position. And
even though it's not really a finalist, it's just like they already know the results.
Yeah.
When they announce the finalists, it's just like the two top runners up.
Right.
It is weird, but that is what it is.
Well, they want to drag it out for
sure.
sake.
Oh, absolutely. It's just like, it's not finalists. That's not what this is.
No, absolutely not. And to Jeremy's credit and mine, I guess, Bobby Witt is running away with the shortstop race for a Gold Glove. It's not even particularly close right now, so we should be expecting him to win it. If
Especially
he does
because in almost any other year he would win an MVP.
Yeah.
Probably not, because Aaron Judge is unreal this year. People have been saying this to me, and I've been like, but Bobby's so good. And I was looking at some of Judge's numbers for an article I'm writing, and I'm like, oh, okay. So they're going to want to give Bobby a lot of other awards. He's probably going to get second in MVP. I would bet money, if I bet money, that he would win the Gold Glove, and he's going to win a Silver Slugger.
Yes, I would certainly hope so. The thing that I feel like baseball is not caught up with is they're still using so many defensive metrics to try and quantify one thing or another. We reference outs above average a lot here because, one, that's on Baseball Savant, which is an official MLB page. We also talk about defensive runs saved, which, I'm sorry, Fielding Bible has been around forever. And the Fielding Bible awards are like the second biggest defensive award, which is very valuable. The top prize, though, is Gold Glove. And they use the thing called the Saber Defensive Index, which is not a publicly available stat at any given moment. I can go load up Bobby Witt's page on Baseball Savant and find out his outs above average, his range, anything I want. I can't do this with Saber. But they put out updates every now and then, periodically throughout the season. And they put out one on August 11th that I completely missed. And I think we need to prepare ourselves for a Gold Glove winner from this Kansas City Royals rotation, of all things.
Ooh.
I know, right?
Ooh. Which one of them?
Well, that's the thing.
Let me guess. Seth Lugo.
Seth Lugo is the top guy according to these standings. Yes, he is tied for first in the AL with a 2.8 SDI. Do I know what the hell that stat means? No, I really don't.
Where's Michael Garcia on there?
So that was fairly surprising because I pulled up his third base numbers, and let's scroll down here. Michael Garcia is actually at a negative 0.8 according to their. Yeah, I know, right?
What about his second base numbers?
And see, I can't even look at that because they don't put it out because he doesn't qualify as a second baseman.
Okay. What about Kyle Isbell? He was the other guy. He was the guy when you said who might win it. I was like, maybe. I don't think he will, but
Kyle Isbell is at a respectable number, 2.4 amongst all AL left fielders. However, there's
what position
3,
is that
4,
in, since
5,
we don't know what
6,
these actual
7,
numbers
8.
mean?
He's ninth amongst all AL center fielders.
Yeah, that's probably not going to happen then.
Dalton Varsho leads the pack with 7.6.
Yeah, he's got a reputation and a little bit of a bat. I wouldn't be surprised to see him win it. Mm-hmm. Certainly, the funny thing is that it will not be Aaron Judge. That's one place where his numbers do not pop.
No, they don't. Aaron Judge sits dead last in these standings at a negative 3.1.
I'm still kind of in shock that like they're still letting him play center field.
Yeah, I am too.
Why are you doing this?
He's just such a great athlete that I'm sure they want to keep his bat in the lineup, and they don't have a better guy to put out there right now. So.
I mean, you can't play him in right because that's where Soto plays.
Correct. Exactly.
You could move one of them to left, but I guess it makes more sense for him to play in center than to play in left.
There is one other guy I want to shout out. Freddie Fermin is absolutely in a crowded AL catching race right now. Cal Rowley of the Seattle Mariners leads the pack with 9.7. Yeah, 9.7 SDI. Freddie, he does sit down at 7th, but he does have 4.5.
And he's played about half of the innings.
Correct.
I don't know if it's one of those where like WAR, where the more you play, the more it can go up. But
if I am understanding this correctly, that does play into it.
So you would wonder if Freddie played the whole year, if he was the starter for the whole year instead of the half guy, if he would qualify.
You might. But yes, Seth Lugo is tied for the top with Chicago White Sox pitcher Chris Flexen. But also in the top 5, Cole Reagan sits at 2.5, so not too far out. And then Michael Wacha sits at 2.2 and 5th.
Brady Singer, not good defensively.
Brady Singer, wait.
Am I wrong?
Brady Singer sits at 1.8, which is 8th amongst all AL pitchers.
All right.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Brady Singer, not mean to slander you.
Apologize.
Sorry. Please do not turn your rain face upon me.
This infamous Singer rain face. So this matters because it is the primary metric used for the Gold Glove.
It's like
and
half the weight, right?
Yes, that it is. So I'm about to pull up the criteria because they still
half the weight, and then a quarter is coach voting and a quarter is player voting or something like that.
Something like that. So let's see here. Oh, Rawlings, I don't want to buy a glove. Thank you very much.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I need one soon.
Maybe. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Let's see here. Yeah, it's not solely based on fielding metrics and statistics, nor does it factor in offensive production, which I think is a lie if you look at previous years.
Well, the voting accounts for it, obviously.
Okay, yeah, that's
not voting for Kyle Isbell. Who is he? He don't even remember his name. He doesn't hit.
But yes, they do factor it. They don't have specific ratios and stuff like that, but managers and coaches do cast their own ballots. I don't see one for players here unless I'm missing it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I believe it's just the managers and coaches and the stats. So this is certainly something to keep an eye on. It's not something we could pull up any given day, so you have to know where to look and when to look. Those results came out on August 11th, so they might have changed between now and then.
Oh, I'm sure they have.
I would certainly
been a couple of baseball games since then.
Yeah, just a handful, just a few. But I thought it was cool to see so many Royals, especially 2 newcomers to the team, rank in the top 5 in that, just screaming more to their overall value to this team, helping them win en route to the postseason push. Jeremy, I ain't gonna lie, man. I'm losing my voice. It's been a long day. Do you have anything to add, sir?
If I do, I can't remember it.
All right. Well, that must not have been that important then. All right, Jeremy, let's go ahead and get on out of here with our Royals reviews. Jeremy, the floor is yours.
So I'm going to go a little bit out in left field. Actually, I'm going to go up to the broadcast booth.
Ooh.
And I'm going to review Rex Hudler. I love Rex. Rex is great. We've talked about this many times. But Bobby Witt Jr. got hit on the hand during Tuesday night's game, which sucked. No one likes that. I don't like that.
That was a scary hit.
And Rex Hudler immediately says, all right, so when's Jose Ramirez coming up? We got to hit him.
Oof.
And I love Rex. Rex has some bad takes from time to time. I think he's generally like a good person. Like if you went good place route and you weighed his good against his bad, he would be more good than bad as a human being. That's what I believe about him. I don't know him, never met him, but that's what I believe based on everything I have read and heard about him. That was not it. I had someone in my reply, I complained about it on Twitter at the time, and I had someone in my replies like, oh, it's the heat of the moment. He doesn't mean anything by it. Let it go. And I'm like, well, the problem is that when he says stuff like that and he doesn't back down from it, especially if he doesn't back down from it, but even if he does back down from it, it encourages other people in that line of thinking. None of them are on a baseball field, but I think it just encourages violent thinking in general, and that might be a little woo-woo, a little slippery slope for everyone. That's fine. But I got another argument with someone on Twitter who was like, listen, you got to throw in, you got to hit somebody now, or else they're going to think that you got to tell them that they can't throw inside on Bobby if they can't control it. You got to tell them that. And I'm like, they're not going to hear that message. No. They're going to hear, I got a base runner. They're going to hear, like, he's like, but the batter will go back to the pitcher and be like, you better figure your crap out. And the pitcher's going to be like, I'm doing my best out here. What, do you want me to throw him a meatball next time? And he's going to go, well, no. And you're going to end up right back where you started. You can't discourage people by throwing at them like that. It just doesn't work. No. It wasn't intentional to try and hit Bobby. He's just throwing his best pitches best he can. Which takes me to today. I remember who was pitching. Somebody beamed Kenzie Noel on the knee.
Yep.
I'm like, so by that logic, the Guardians should be, we got to go throw it MJ Melendez now to show the Royals that you shouldn't be throwing inside if you can't control your stuff. It's just nonsense. It's utter absolute nonsense.
Yes,
so,
it is.
like, don't say nonsense, especially like pro-violence nonsense. We have enough violence in the world. Sports are supposed to be a place where we go and compete instead of having violence. We've changed from the gladiator games, fighting lions or stabbing each other, to hitting a baseball. Let's not go back to the more violence, okay? That's all I'm saying, okay? That's all I'm saying. Okay. And I'll drop it now. Thank you.
Well, I think if I recall correctly, you also had an article about this a while back.
It was a few weeks ago when Bobby got hit last time.
Yeah. Now, I will say this. Maybe this might be the pot calling the kettle black when I agree with you, and I also openly love Yordano Ventura, who was notably a ball thrower at players, as I pull up his Manny Machado clip from his game way back when. Oh, that seems so long ago, but it really wasn't. Goodness gracious. My review today is over another thing out of left field. Like I said earlier, I am in the military, and I had to go in and do a periodical weigh-in and physical readiness test is what it's called. And they put on like a watch, if you will. Like they flagged it. I've been trying out some new meds, caused me to gain a bunch of weight and hold on to it, and it just drove up the number on the scale. So notice that I dropped like 12 pounds, lost like a percentage. I know, right? Dropped a percentage of body fat according to their metrics. And then after all that,
does the Navy still use BMI?
Yep, still use BMI.
Oh crap!
I know, right? Which is now
it's been so thoroughly debunked. Everyone, stop using it.
And now they're also coupling it with this thing called
Olympic athletes are obese according to BMI.
Apparently,
stop it.
Now they also use something called the age-adjusted standard, which is where they ignore your age and they put you. Like they just say, okay, well, if you were 18 again, would you fail this? And I failed it. I'm a 27-year-old male, but they said that I failed.
Because you're not 18. What on earth is that?
You can do more research on it. This is like a policy that a lot of folks just don't agree with, so they don't enforce it. My command enforces it, unfortunately, apparently. So that was a very disappointing start to my day.
My eyes are gonna pop out of my head.
Yeah. Let's and I ain't the skinniest guy. I could stand to lose some weight, but I mean, unhealthy.
No,
All right,
you're
like,
not.
It is what it is, man.
Do not even. Okay, listen. Here, I'm gonna out myself right now.
Okay.
Earlier this year, I weighed 500 pounds. The definition of fat, right?
Well, you also have a lot of disabilities.
Fat.
Okay.
The doctor runs all the tests to tell you my general health. Outside of my chronic illnesses, my one chronic physical injury, I'm healthy. I'm not diabetic. Everything's good. You can be fat and healthy. Being overweight isn't like you don't want to do that, but it doesn't make you automatically unhealthy. And to use BMI, I've seen so many doctors. Doctor literally to my face told me, went to him for something, and he's like, oh, well, you're fat. So you just need to lose weight, and then that will go away. And it makes you want to scream, okay, what if I wasn't fat? Because like people who aren't fat have this problem too. Maybe I have that.
Maybe so.
It's absolutely infuriating. Now, I have lost some weight since then because no one wants to be 500 pounds.
Right.
But it is, I could do a multi-part solo podcast on my weight loss journey that no one wants to listen to. And you've already listened to more of it than you wanted to, I'm sure. So I will leave it there. But
okay.
Weight is grossly mishandled by our society and by our medical system, and apparently by the military.
Yep, there we are. Which it is what it is, man. Just gotta keep it rolling. And
I'm just grateful I'm fat enough that the military will never want anything to do with me.
Just wait till World War III, friend. Gonna be looking for anyone and everyone. You're the next man up. I'm joking. I really am. I should listen. I'm tired. It's been a long day, folks. I'm ready to get on out of here. I'm sure you're ready to stop listening to us. So appreciate you still listening. If you are, please make sure to go check out royalsreview.com after you get done with this podcast. That is where all the good, juicy stuff is. You can also follow along with us on social media. Is this not the good, juicy stuff? Pod. I think this is nice and it's juicy. I'm not saying it's good. It's juicy. It's moist.
Great and juicy.
Yes, there you go. I should probably have a little bit more self-confidence now, shouldn't I?
No ketchup on this steak, baby.
I'll tell that to Patty. Patrick Mahomes. Ketchup on steak.
Listen, nobody's perfect, okay?
Even the best football player on the world has some shortcomings.
On the world, yes.
On the world.
In the world, on the world, same difference. On the world makes more sense. He is not like inside of it. I'll give you that one.
All right.
I'm sorry, I'm derailing us as you're trying to get us out of here.
Well, the podcast art says it all, folks. I got the wheel. Jeremy tries to derail us plenty of times, but even I can steer us into a wilderness or two. If you want more of our nonsense, you can do so by following us on Twitter. He is at Hakius. That is Hokius. I am at Jacob Milham KC. Both the links are down in the podcast description below. But we're going to get on out of here, go enjoy our evening, and look forward to this 4-game set against the Houston Astros. Thank you for joining us this evening, and until next time, go Royals!